Hello there, anybody. So this is a little bit of an unexpected, impromptu video here. But I was playing Star Citizen earlier today when I recorded this footage, and I just thought I had to share it. So my audio setup here is a little bit jank, so I hope you'll forgive any issues with it. I've had to turn my gain on my microphone way down to try and get rid of the background noise, but I apologize if there's some still there. More on before I get too far into this video. I just wanted to warn you that there may be some noises later on that could be a little abrasive. I've done my best to tune the sharp ones down as much as I can in post, but just be aware that there might be some mechanical noises that some people might not find super palatable. Me personally, I really enjoy a lot of the sounds of the spaceships in the game, all the different little mechanical bits and the hums of the engine, but it may not be for everyone, so just keep that in mind. Anyways, on to the point of this video. As I said, I was just playing around in Star Citizen, and one of the things Star Citizen does really well is that if you see something in the game, you can go and visit it. And, I'd been exploring around quite a bit, and I thought to myself today, I wondered if those platforms on Orison were visitable. Now, for those of you who don't play Star Citizen or don't know, Orison is this gorgeous city in the clouds in the game. Orison is situated on the gas giant owned by the company Crusader, and so they've built the city on these beautiful floating platforms and formed around this tourism industry. As you can see, of course, just everything is so beautiful. But what really struck me is, as you can see, this whole area with all this immaculate detail is completely barren. So this is not a part of the game that you're normally supposed to be in. Granted, with Star Citizen, there's not really such a thing as supposed to be or not. You can just kind of go anywhere. But at no point in the game do any mission givers give you any incentive to go over to these little platforms. They're just kind of there for you to discover. As you can see, there's no one here, there's nothing to be gained, just pretty sights. So, as I was wandering around, I was just sort of struck by this incredible sense of liminality. Just these really big, open, beautiful spaces that you can tell were so intricately designed for people to be bustling around and use them. But, of course, because this isn't part of the game that the player would normally spend time at, all these facilities go unused. No one is sitting in these couches or on these benches. No one's utilizing the elevators or walking up and down the paths. And it created this really interesting feeling for me, a feeling I hadn't really gotten since I was a little kid. One of the first video games I ever played was Uru, Ages Beyond Mist, which has quite a bit of a backstory in and of itself to it, but again features similarly just incredibly detailed worlds that have just seemingly been abandoned. Hopefully you'll forgive the lack of FPS here. Orison is a very difficult city to run. Lots and lots of really intense shaders and stuff going on here. But yeah, so in this first spot, as you can see, I was just able to park my ship right here in the middle of the garden. Everything has hit boxes and is fully modeled out for you to use and land on and do whatever. And so I thought I'd be funny and land in the middle of the garden, but there was a landing pad, I just didn't use it. So here's your first little warning for some mechanical noises as we take off here. But I do really like the hum of the ship. And so, as you've already seen, right, we've seen these really interesting gardens and these building interiors, working elevators that just kind of blew my mind when I first opened and saw those trees sitting there. This all started on a platform further away, as Orison, this floating city, is primarily designed for building ships. These ships, in fact, as I'm flying a Crusader ship right here, and so they can lower their costs by keeping everything in this sort of low gravity, high in the sky environment. And I was stunned because I went to one of these industrial-like platforms, and it had these beautiful gardens on top. So you can see here, of course, if you couldn't tell already, I'm going in and recording this after the fact, this voiceover. But I was just kind of trying to get a picture of the place, because of course I could set down and land everywhere. But, you know, I didn't want to be here for forever. So you can see we've got like a big landing pad here. You could land really big ships, like even a Hercules or something. And then this one I was really disappointed. My ship was too big to land on here. As you can see, there's no landing platform here, but there's a whole Zen garden up there. And the elevators that go up to it don't work. So it was just amazing to me that these designers put all of this work and effort, all these little intricate, beautiful details. Of course, every part of Star Citizen is beautiful in detail, but you know, this is one of those ones that it's really truly meant to kind of be awe-inspiring, where other cities like Lorville might be kind of dirty. Orison is really truly meant to be breathtaking, and they've done so, as you can see. These little details on tops of these tall roofs that you can't get to unless you've got a really, really tiny ship, and even then you're really not supposed to be up there. You know, some artist spent a lot of time making and crafting that gorgeous Zen garden with all those textures, only for it to never really be seen unless you were doing like me and just going out and trying to see what kind of mischief you could get into. So here I'm going to land on this other platform because I noticed this one had some interesting details that I wanted to check out as well. And this was really a treat as well. So you notice, or you might have noticed, that the sun has begun to set here on Orison, and these crazy pink clouds and bright blue sky make for probably one of the most gorgeous sunsets in any video game that I've ever played. And we'll get to enjoy that together as well here pretty soon.
Engines off.
And I won't be talking for the whole video as well. I'll let some of the natural sounds do their thing. I just kind of had to give a little bit of context. Hopefully.
Attention. This platform will be undergoing routine elevation correction momentarily. You may notice some
As you can see, just these really, truly impressive gardens here. And you can just imagine what this place would be like if it had, you know, people roving around, relaxing on these lounge chairs, or going about fixing the platforms, or tending to these really incredible gardens. You know, everything else in Star Citizen feels so foreign and so alien. But Orison is like, you know, it's this manicured planet. It's meant to be a tourist destination. So, you know, it's the only place you see this shortcut turf, these nice lawns and stuff. It's such a stark contrast to really everything else in the game. And again, this whole area painstakingly made. And yet no players are really here to see it yet. And that's not to say they never will. I believe they do have plans to make more use of these platforms. But it was something that has really struck me, that, you know, an artist had spent so much time just lovingly crafting these really, really gorgeous structures and gardens, and just no one is really incentivized to see it at all. And this too was really fun for me, these little details, and there's another one closer to the end, but again, a little maintenance platform, right? Because of course, even though people are out here to be relaxing and stuff, you still have to, make sure everything's maintained. Did a little zoom in there if you go back, just again admiring the detail in Star Citizen. It's one of those things that it's impressive when you first see it, but it also never gets old. Every single time I see those little decals and warnings labeled on those like intricately detailed and riveted metal panels, it just blows me away. And even things like this too, like you can see those gorgeous, gorgeous golden hour rays of sun reflecting off all the buildings in the distance. That's another thing, again, like you've got to keep this in mind. So this platform we're on here is just like all these other platforms you can see out in the distance. So we're just on one little platform, but every single one of those other platforms you see out there we can land on. And there it is. Look at that view, that sunset. And it's just going to get even more beautiful as the sun continues to drift down in the sky. I originally intended to make this video to show my friends this crazy little nook I found in the game, this little, serene sort of area just away from all the hustle and bustle. And again, also just to show off, the detail. Of course, we all get very excited just about the detail of Star Citizen. I mean, that's one of the main draws of the game for us, of course, The game's got plenty of bugs and really not a lot to do in the game, which for us is not a big deal. We love stuff like this, just going around and finding these little details. So I was originally recording it for them, and it was going to be only just a couple minutes, but the more I looked around, the more my jaw was just on the floor. And as I was going too, I wanted to make a commentary about the interesting liminal feel of it and how it harkened back to other things I've seen, but I was also realizing the subtle wisp of air, the rattle of leaves, the little footsteps in the grass, even the hum of the engines and stuff like that was just all very relaxing to me, so I figured I could turn it into something like this. So again, another little warning for mechanical sounds coming up here. I'll see if I can put timestamps in the video, although I've never done that before, so. But, as you watch, of course, I hope you find it just as relaxing as I did, because, just you can really, at least for me, again, I can just lose myself in these worlds. A lot of people I know are motivated by needing something to do in a game. That's a reason why a lot of people I know don't like open world games or sandbox games, because you don't really have a goal to shoot for. And of course, Star Citizen has quests and stuff, but really my favorite part of Star Citizen is just this. Just going around, making my own fun. I could just do this for hours. It's so relaxing to me. And so again, right about here, I decided to kind of fly around some of the platforms that looked interesting. Areas that weren't necessarily close to any given landing pad. Or, things that just looked interesting but were repeats of earlier stuff. I just kind of flew around in third person here, just kind of taking in all the details. Looking for that the next unique particle I would find, and again, just the sun. One of the things that makes Orison so difficult to run compared to anything else in the game is Star Citizen's sort of infantile cloud tech. It's in its early stages, but they try to do a lot to simulate all those crazy light bounces that happen in an atmosphere. You can really see it coming through, the way the light penetrates the clouds at different depths, creating those bright pinks or those deep maroons. Just breathtaking. And so here below us, that is one of the main, I think it's called the Cloud View Center at Orison. It's sort of the main tourism hub. If you visit Orison, that is the place where you will spend the most time, or at least the most time next to the airport. Very gorgeous down there as well. And just the scale of the game is just unbelievable, you know. From way up here, these platforms look so small, but of course as you get out and you wander around, each platform is like its own world, you know. Each platform is the size of entire levels in other games, and yet they're just sitting there floating. Nothing on them, no motivation to go to them, but just gorgeous and thoughtfully, worked out nonetheless. And so right about here, I wanted to start looking for one of the habitation platforms, because all the platforms we've been to so far, of course I didn't show you before, but I went to the industrial platforms. And then the ones we've been visiting so far, like office platforms, or mercantile. But here, these ring platforms are where the residents of Orison stay. So you can see those big pads off to the right there that I passed, for ships coming in, cargo, ferries for people, and then each one of these little living towers. And you can see again, like each one of these has these little, couple of them have that prefab of the Zen Garden, other ones have landing pads that we've seen before. Which is why I decided to move on again. I just figured from a distance it was okay. And I love the look of the rain on the cockpit canopy. Just really pretty. Especially with those pink hues. As the moisture, drips around the cockpit. And again, here was another unique platform I thought about exploring. I wasn't sure. I thought it maybe was the same platform as the one we were on at the start of the video, but as I rotated around, I realized it was completely different, a completely new configuration. So I could have spent just as much time landing and getting out and around exploring this platform as I did the other one, and I probably will at some point if I'm being honest with myself. And look at that sun as it just hides behind that thick cloud. As it just rolls on through and the sun sets deeper. Right about here, I thought about attempting another landing on this little Zen garden, but I'm just too big. Just too big. See, especially with this one too, this is a very multi-tiered platform, so even if you were to land on one level, you'd have to get back up and land on another level to see all that level's details. And so here I'm just landing on one of these pads. This is a pad that I've looked at before. This is a pad that they have on an industrial platform. Believe it or not, there's some cargo platforms that you can go and see, and it was the one that I initially saw and the one that took me so by surprise, because I just wanted to see what was out on the in the industrial area of Orison where they were making the ships. And I just came across a cargo platform, and I could see the cargo platform had what looked like an air traffic control tower to direct incoming cargo flights. But on top of the air traffic control tower, I saw this landing pad with these beautiful patches of green, with these trees, and all this beautiful plant life, and I just couldn't really believe it. And so here is where I kind of figured would be a good spot to end the video, because as it gets darker out, the lights start turning on these platforms and giving everything just a whole new beautiful glow. As you'll see. can see my ship just barely fits on these. These platforms are really made for small ships, but I just like my Star Runner too damn much. And again, this is just Star Citizen showing off. All these just, it's very silly. It's a simple little light, just a little light, but the way it just looks illuminating the garden, that warm color of light with the bloom on it as well. And then of course again, this is just going back to that feeling of liminality. Like, look how warm and inviting this little conversation space looks like. These really nice, luxurious wooden deck. You could imagine yourself throwing a whole party up here. And it's just one little landing pad that you could throw a whole bash on, who knows? And yet no one's here to see it. Little benches not getting used. Just little old me up here wandering around. Dinky dinky doo. And they've got these just gorgeous little observation decks off onto either side of the platform. Oh, and then this as well. Just look at this. These little ponds all the way up top here. Look at the way the light is reflecting on the water from below and illuminating everything. And again, it's doing the same thing. We've got this beautiful egress point that goes to where? Just a little technical spot. It's like a little treat for any technician that has to work on the platform. They get this little nice, like almost koi pond thing with these lily pads and stuff. It's just like attention to detail that's completely unnecessary and just absolutely drives me and my friends crazy. We just eat it up. We just eat it up. And so I thought I'd pause here for a second as well too, to just let you soak in this view. Look at all those platforms. All of them starting to light up with their guidance lights so people don't run into them as the sun sort of sets. Casts that really nice, cool glow on everything. Just tinted a shade of pink. And so there again, that's that cloud view center. And you can see with my mouse, I'm circling the Mercury Star Runner actually in the Crusader showroom. It's the very place that I bought the one I have there. And it's funny, you can even see the Star Runner that's in the showroom all the way from over here. And I just love that about this game. The render distance is, for all intents and purposes, infinite.